To our session. Just a reminder, we are recording this. My name is Rob Gonda. I'm the Vice President of the Ohio Middle Level Association. I just want to welcome everyone to our session tonight, celebrating you, middle school teachers, administrators, personnel throughout the state of Ohio. We know that this has been a challenging year. We want to start in the year on a high note. With prizes and information that you can go into the summer and think about. So we have a wonderful speaker in Stephanie Howell, who I'll introduce here in a second, who will be sharing some of her insights with us. And additionally, we want to invite you to get back out there. Next year, we're going to have a wonderful state conference in Columbus, Ohio, celebrating our 50th. And I know that we would all like to get back together. Being able to network, being able to see old friends, being able to celebrate. I hear rumor that we might ask you to dress up for our dance during the conference. So get an opportunity to even put on maybe that wedding dress, bridesmaid dress that someone said, you'll wear this 1,000 times, or go get a tux and dress up a little bit. But we really do want to get back to it and get to know everybody again and celebrate the middle school together. So I encourage you to go to our website. We'll put that in the chat for you to check out. You can see all the wonderful events going on. At our state conference is the crown jewel, but we also have lots of regional events that are going on throughout the state. And we have a wonderful volunteer board. And so if you are someone who wants to get involved, we have room for you. We are always looking for new members to get involved, and it could be just on a small committee, or it could be something much larger, like getting involved with our board. So again, if that's something that interests you, please check out our website. We'd love to have you as part of our organization. So throughout the night, we will be pausing to give away some prizes. I will say one of them is going to be some Chipotle gift cards. We're going to give away Ohio Middle Level Conference. I hear rumors, John, and we'll have to wait for Josh, but I think we're going to have some Guardians tickets. I'm still getting used to saying Guardians. And we're going to have some preseason Browns tickets too. So again, something to stick around for as we give away our prizes. But what we want to start off with, and I know you want another joke, but I'm going to introduce our speaker though. We are very grateful for Stephanie Howell to be joining us tonight, who is going to talk a little bit about giving you some ideas, some new things that you could be trying out in your classroom. She is an instructional coach with Pickerington City Schools. And thank you so much, Stephanie, for being with us tonight. I'll turn things over to you. And then as we go through the night, we will be sharing those prizes before we go. So again, if you have questions, you have comments, please put those in the chat. And again, thank you so much for joining us. And Stephanie, it's all yours.
All right. Hi, everyone. Just like Rob said, my name is Stephanie Howell, and I'm an instructional technology coach in Pickerington Local School District. I have been a special education teacher for 3 years, and then I fell in love with technology and how it could really bring the confidence of my students with different disabilities. I saw that they struggled with spelling, but with spell check, it brought them this confidence to try to use some harder or more grade level vocabulary. And it was just really exciting. So I'm excited to share some of the different templates I've used with my teachers and ideas. And I know the theme is celebrating teachers. And that is kind of what we're going to do tonight. It's going to be a lot of party favors. And I feel like teachers, I don't know if you're different, feel free to let me know in the chat. Like, my favorite party favor as a teacher is a free template. Something where I don't have to pay on teachers pay teachers. I don't have to maybe pay for it. It's just free. So you're going to get a lot of ideas. One thing Rob did not share about me is I'm an oversharer. So you're going to have a ton of ideas today. You should not do them all. So I want you to just kind of look at some of these ideas and pick one. What is one new thing you can implement in your classroom this year or maybe next year if you're wrapping up your school year. So it is going to be kind of quick, but there are a ton of resources for you. I also have my own Google group. So I have kind of my own LLC, which is Gold EDU. And I'm going to put the link in the chat because some resources you will need to join the chat or the Google group to access because it's a collaborative community. We don't want anyone's work to get ruined. And so we can go into the revision history to figure out who might have slide bombed us or made a mistake. And then we can have that conversation. So feel free to join the group if there are certain templates that you want, because some of them are locked down, but they are open to anybody who joins. But they're locked down just to kind of save the creators' rights because there's so much collaboration and sharing in this group. And so the first template is on a scale. So feel free in the chat, let us know, how are you feeling on a scale of tacos? Are you happy? Are you hungry? Maybe you haven't ate dinner. Maybe you're that angry taco that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this another day right now. Maybe you're really sad, you're number 4. Maybe you're jumping for joy because I said free templates. Or maybe you're the number 6. And so I love to use these honest scales. They kind of started during COVID. And so every single template that you're going to see tonight, because there's a lot, is going to have a video resource, because you might be like, hey, I want to come back to this next year. I'm not ready to implement it right now. And you can watch the video to learn more. There's also going to be a link for the template. So if I click here, it's going to open up. I'm going to share the slides at the end, and yes, they will come in the email as well. So I will share all of the slides at the very end, just so it doesn't bog down my end, is why I'm going to wait, because I have to click a lot of links. So these honest scales are great for check-ins. You can add them to a Pear Deck, a Nearpod, a Google form. You can just project it onto your whiteboard screen. And what will happen is students are going to let you know, how are they doing? And if a student picks number 3, I can then have a smaller conversation with that student and just kind of say, hey, what's going on? Can we talk a little bit more about how you're feeling? And so in this resource, the community at Gold has created a bunch of these. So teachers can just kind of grab and use these in their classroom. This is probably one of my favorite ones with the rubber duckies, where there's like one blown up and then one just deflating very quickly. So again, it's just a great way to quickly see how are students feeling and who do I need to check in with, who's having a good day, and how can I support those different students with a quick visual to see how are they doing. All right, template number 2 is this or that boards. So when I was teaching, I gave my students a choice board that had 9 different choices on it. My students didn't do any of them because they were sitting there with decision fatigue. They were like, I don't know where to start. I don't know which one to do. There are too many different decisions. And so I quickly realized that, and I decided to change my model for this. So what students do is they have a this or that. They have to do every single category. So right here where it says explore, they have to explore. Either they can watch this quick video, or they can watch this video about ancient Egypt. It doesn't matter which one they do, they're going to learn the same content. And maybe it's not a video here, maybe it's an article that I want them to read. So again, students will be able to explore the different activities. They're going to read, they're going to connect, they're going to create. They have to do all of these different topics, but they get a choice in how they want to complete those different activities. And so here's just a couple different examples of how teachers have kind of used these different ideas in our district. And sometimes they add like a must do, like you have to do this before you can do the this or that, before you get some choice. So it's just been a great way to organize the lesson and to provide student choice. Because again, when I was giving students 9 different choices, they were just sitting there staring at me and not doing any of them, which was really frustrating because I spent a lot of time putting those choice boards together. So this is a great way to allow student choice, but it's less choices for them. The next one is roadmaps. So we started to implement roadmaps during COVID. which are video lessons, and then the students actually go and do something, and then they get a teacher check. So in Pickerington, we focus a lot on blended learning. And one of the ways that our teachers have organized this is by using roadmaps. So you can kind of see here are some different styles of roadmaps. And with these roadmaps, what will happen is students will start at the beginning. You take a task that is very difficult and you split it up and you chunk it for the students. We realize that a lot of students with executive functioning needed tasks broken up into smaller pieces. And so like right here with this matter one, students are going to start off with vocab. Once they have mastered that vocab, they're going to do maybe a quick prayer model to a couple words that they might have missed multiple times. Then when they do that, they might go into a Quizlet activity again to see if they improved from the first round. And then they might do a Jamboard activity and all of these different activities for the students to do. Your role as the teacher changes because you're now the felicitator. So you're going to get up, you're moving around the room, you're checking in with students. And sometimes you can even add a teacher check. Every single student, when they get to this activity number 4, they have to have a teacher check. And so it just allows students to kind of move around the room on their own activities. You can provide more scaffolds for students if you need to, or you can kind of keep it as you might need to for whatever your students might need. Some students might need more check-ins. So I might make a copy of this and make 2 different versions. One for my students that need more teacher check-ins, more support. And then I might take away some of those scaffolds for my higher group of students that do not need those supports. So multiple different ways to kind of use this roadmap idea. And we've used it with email. So right here, the students watch an overview video. So they kind of get the learning intentions, what's happening, what are they expected to learn. And then they're going to learn how to open Gmail. Well, for this group of students, they're 2nd graders, I want to make sure that they know how to open Gmail. So I'm just going to do a quick check and I just check in with them really quickly to see, did they open up Gmail? If they did, they keep moving. And then they do all of these activities, another teacher check, then they complete these last activities, and then they send the email. Once they finish, a nice can-do list can help for those early finishers because with roadmaps, students work at their own pace. Another thing is just choice boards. So again, we do a lot of make and takes with the Gold community, and we have created all of these different choice boards, some for self-care, some for video, some for mastery. How are you going to show that you have mastered the material? Are you going to take an Edulastic quiz? Are you going to watch a video? Or are you going to create a comic? Or maybe you want to design a coffee cup or a book trailer or book cover. So just so many different ideas for your students to kind of create and just ideas to put on a choice board. So I kind of like to introduce activities and then I'll add them onto a choice board. So that way students know the expectation, they know exactly what I expect when they complete those different activities. Must-do, can-do lists are another really fun activity for students to do. What you can do, and this is probably one of my favorites that Mr. Isaac created, is mustard. So what are the things that the students must accomplish today? What do they have to get done? Then they can pick 2. So that's the pickles. After they get done with the pickles, they are going to work on any work that they need to catch up on. And then they're going to work on their may do. Their may do activities where it might be like a choice board. So these lists again can be just helpful for students to know, okay, what do I need to do first? Then what do I do? And then what's kind of an option if I finish early? But those students that might not finish early, they might not need those different extension activities. And so they can have different activities where you're reteaching or doing some type of other activities that might be in the must-do activities. Icebreakers. So these are really fun, is dice. You can have a digital version of dice. If you just type into Google roll dice, it will pop up all these different dice that you can roll. And you can quickly roll a dice. Or you might have a ton of dice like I did when I was teaching, and students roll a dice. Let's say I roll a 2. I'm going to acknowledge someone for a job well done. Maybe I roll a 3. they're going to describe a good idea they might have heard. So again, the gold community, we came together and everybody kind of threw their own ideas and questions into these dice debriefs. So there are so many different ones that you can use with your students, like this one for conflict resolution. Students roll a dice. I'm sorry for. They have a great sentence starters to help them communicate what are they struggling with, what might they need more support for, and maybe they roll a 5. I felt blank when this happened. So again, it can be just really helpful to kind of have these different dice. And again, having a PLN, having that personal learning network, you can collaborate. Like these ones are in different languages. I only speak English, but this could be really helpful for some EL teachers that might need that support. So it's always great to have that community of people to collaborate and brainstorm together. And then this get ready, do, done is another way to organize your lesson. So right here, you can kind of see get ready. So students need to have their computer out. They need to have their voice off while they're waiting. Then they need to log into Google Classroom, respond to the activity, and then this is how they know that they're done. So providing that success criteria so students know, hey, you are done when you do 3 things that you learned, 2 interesting facts, or whatever the activity might be. So again, students can kind of see exactly what they need to know when it comes to their learning, and they can follow this quickly. Okay, I need to get ready. These are the things I'm going to need for the lesson. This is what I'm going to do. And then this is when I know I'm finished with that activity. And then the retrieval wheel. So retrieval is a great practice to include in your classroom. Retrieval can help students remember information and make it sticky. So with this activity, if you have never heard of Wheel of Names, this is amazing. You can put content in here. You can put students' names and you spin the wheel. And once you spin the wheel, whatever pops up is going to be the topic for this activity. And so once you spin it, a topic's chosen, and then students will recite as much information as they can. You can do this with a team, or students can do it individually. So they are going to either use like maybe a pear deck or a whiteboard, and they write down as much information as they can about the topic that was chosen from that wheel. The student or the team with the most information about that topic wins. It has to be correct. So any misinformation, you can correct it right then and there. You can also do like a peek and add. So maybe you start a timer and you give them 30 seconds to peek at another team's whiteboard. And then they can kind of use that knowledge that they saw off peeking, and it will activate more knowledge about that different topic. And then you can play as many times as you want, or as little depending on the time. So just a fun activity for the end of a unit or end of the year to kind of say, okay, what have we learned? Let's put it all in this wheel, and then we're going to spin it and just kind of see how much information we have about a topic.
Hey, Stephanie, can I pause you for a prize break?
Yes.
Let
yes.
you catch your breath here. We have our prize patrol looking in on our guests here tonight. Josh Kaufman is here, and he is the prize patrol. Josh, I think you have a few other gifts. I think one of those gifts is a conference registration. So can we pick someone to get a free registration to the Ohio Middle Level Conference being held in November?
Yeah, I think our conference winner tonight for a full paid to join our 50th anniversary is going out tonight to Jennifer Boggs. Congratulations, Jennifer.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Jennifer, if you could please put your email in the chat. I want to remind you, we have other wonderful prizes coming. We're going to give away a few more Chipotle gift cards. And then we have, I believe, tickets to a Guardians game. And that's coming up, Josh. When is that Guardians game?
That is this Friday night, May the 20th.
This Friday night. Okay, so this Friday, and I believe we have 4 tickets. Is that correct?
We have 4 tickets to that and 4 tickets to Cleveland Browns preseason opener against the Eagles in August.
Okay, so
Coming.
Stick around. We'll do another prize break here in a little bit. and give some more things away. Stephanie, back to you.
All right, thank you. Congratulations on that. That's awesome. All right, so this next one is UNO. This can help with classroom management. I know a lot of teachers are wrapping up the school year, and classroom management can be sometimes a stressful activity just because your routine might be changed or there's some unstructured time. And so what happens is you get a deck of UNO cards. And with that deck of UNO cards, you're going to want to shuffle it and get it ready to go. So the first thing is when you catch students meeting a goal. So you might just have one goal for the day, like everybody has a pencil. Everybody was able to transition in 1 minute or less to their activities, whatever goal you might want to make for that day. Students will get 100 points and they're going to compete against your different classes. If you're self-contained, you can have like a teacher scoreboard or something like that. If they pull out the number out of the UNO deck, they are going to subtract that many points. So if they get an 8, students will subtract 100 minus 8, and that's their new score on the scoreboard. If they get a skip, they get 0 points. If they get a wild, they get to draw again, and that card is doubled from their scoreboard. If they get a reverse, they draw another card and they add that to another class. So they add points to another class. And then the wild draw 4, they get 4 more cards to subtract from their board. The first class to 0 wins some type of prize. So again, just keeping students engaged at the end of the school year with some UNO and a fun kind of competition between your 3 different classes, or if you have more, feel free to add more to this template. And then executive functioning. So in the chat, I want you to think about that one student that might kind of drive you crazy. Are they lazy? Is it their stubbornness? Is it that they're messy, maybe disruptive? Maybe they are unmotivated or forgetful. Think about that one student. And it's usually the behavior is a executive functioning reason for why they are acting the way that they are. And so, for example, maybe I had a student that was driving me crazy and he was just unmotivated. Well, this nice little graphic is telling me that he needs some time management skills or some planning, right? So using that to kind of think about his behavior, and then I'm able to now change the way I think about it to really support this student. And so right here is a list. You can kind of go up to the top and you can say, okay, I need help with this student. I think it's a working memory or time management issue. And so I can find that slide. And there are some ideas and resources that can kind of help this student be more successful in your classroom. So again, you can kind of use, maybe it's a guess how much time, or maybe the student needs help with some transitions and creating like a checklist just to help them. And so using some of these strategies have helped my students that were kind of driving me crazy because they were unorganized. I was able to use that knowledge with the executive functioning skills to really understand how can I better support these students. And it started to really help because they needed the different skills or different applications to really understand what they might have been lacking. And then they were able to use those different strategies later when they were older, and they were able to use those different skills in their own classrooms. So again, thinking about that behavior and how can I support that student so they're not as messy. So that way we can work on organization and that kind of stuff. And then vindictive. This is a fun game to play in your classroom. It can work with any subject, any content. And what students do is every single student stands up and then they put their hand up to answer a question. So you're going to ask a question. Once students answer that question correctly, they get to pick 3 students to sit down. If they're already sitting down, they can still answer and they're able to stand up and choose 2 people to sit down. The last person standing wins. So again, you can ask different questions and you can kind of play multiple different rounds. You can set a timer and kind of say, okay, we're going to see how many students are left up if you are not able to wait until that last person. And then you can also play with teams. So maybe you have different teams, boys versus girls, or some type of other teaming, and the team that's has the most people standing wins. So again, just kind of fun, different ways that you can play this game. And it's just a great way to review different content. And if you're trying for the end of the year, maybe you review content, or maybe you use Disney trivia or something like that. End of the year is a great time to try some new strategies because you already have those relationships with your students. And it's okay if you fail. There's no tests or anything like that holding you, so you can kind of try new strategies and see how it goes. Work and reset. This is another classroom management strategy. So around the board is choices. So with a group of fifth graders, as an instructional coach, I go into classrooms often, and sometimes teachers do not have a classroom management plan. So I don't know if there's any instructional coaches in here, but if there is, sometimes that was my issue, as I would walk into a classroom, there was no plan. This activity can really help get students on task quickly. So again, all of these different ideas around here, I brainstormed with the class I was working with. I said, okay, let's think about some rewards. If you guys work for 25 minutes, you're gonna get a 5-minute break. And with that 5-minute break, you can talk with friends. You can do tech time. You can stretch and move around the room. And the students helped me create these choices. And then they had to reach 2 goals. So they will raise their hand to speak and they will stay in their space. They got 1 warning. So I kind of did this. I set my timer for 25 minutes. Students, I had 2 students get more than 2 warnings. Those students had to come with me during those 5-minute breaks, and they had to do a reflection with me. So students had to talk about what was a challenge during the work time, what went well, how could I help them? And then they also had to reflect on what can we try next time. We did it again for 20 minutes. And those 2 students did not have to come meet with me. None of the students did, because they were able to reflect and correct their behavior. The only roadblock that we had was getting back to their seats, because some of them got up to move, to stretch and move. Some of them got up to do some origami. So because of that, I set a 2-minute timer and I said, back to your seat, work on your roadmap, and then focus on your 2 goals. And since they beat the timer, those transition times really started to not be an issue. So if there are roadblocks, just kind of think, how can I add a timer, maybe just help have students beat that timer to get them back on task. So again, this was just a really great activity that I was able to use with anything. And I could just keep replaying that timer and giving them a quick reset to have a break, talk with some friends. And those students worked really hard that whole 25 minutes compared to not having a timer and a break. So I know some people are like, well, that's 25 minutes and then they get a 5-minute, 10-minute break. That's 10 minutes out of my class. But my students were more productive during those 25 minutes than if I wouldn't have given them a break. So it was really helpful strategy that I used with some of my students. And then this wonder wall. So if you're trying to communicate an agenda or what you're learning to students, this is a great way to do it. You can talk about, what are we learning? Why are we learning it? How will you know that you've learned it? And then this kind of shows how students are going to learn it. So on Monday, they're going to do some type of activity to meet these learning goals. On Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, and Friday. And so again, it always has those learning intentions up here for students to see clearly what is expected and when and how am I going to meet that learning goal. And then Monday through Friday, it has the task that they're working on to make sure that they meet those different goals. And there's just different templates. This is the one that I saw on Twitter. I'm a huge Twitter fan. And this is kind of how you can kind of see it. Like, they worked on a bell ringer, they read this, and their final goal was here. So they're going to learn a well-written paragraph. And you're just kind of breaking it down for the students so they know exactly what's expected and when to do it. I did this with a book trailer. So students made a video and we broke it down. On Monday, you're going to do this, on Tuesday, on Wednesday. And I told the students, if you get ahead of pace, that is great. If you are behind pace, we're going to try to work on a plan to get you ahead. That way on Friday, your book trailer is due and you are going to get that peer feedback from your friends. So it just really helped going back to those learning intentions and the why are we learning this and why do I need to know this? And then motivation. So I like to use this template at the beginning of the year. It is a Google Sheet, but if you follow the video, it walks you through how to take your Google sheet and make it into a Google form. And the reason you have to copy the Google sheet is because there's a lot of formulas here. So you can kind of see it's calculating up. So what happens is students complete a Google form. So if I go into tools, manage form, I can go to my live form. And then students have two choices. Would they rather have a teacher write 100% on their paper or be the first to finish their work? What this test is doing is it's allowing me to know, how are my students motivated? Are they motivated by adult approval? Are they motivated by those independent rewards or consumables, or maybe the competitive approval or peer approval? And so again, students complete this Google form. It's 2 questions, really, really quick. And then at the end of it, their score comes out. And I'm able to kind of see as well. It comes to this Google Doc. Let's see if I can open this one. And students can get this email as well. So they're aware of what motivates them as well. And so then I can kind of see here, okay, adult approval. This student really likes the independent rewards. And then I'm able to support that student. And I can see that they don't really like consumable rewards. That was their lowest. So then I'm able to use this knowledge to really motivate those students that might need it. So it really just kind of helps build those relationships with students. And when you're struggling to motivate, you can really kind of see like, oh, this student likes it when I tell them, hey, you did a good job, even though they might not act like it. It just kind of lets me know by using that survey to quickly see how they're doing on different things and what I need to do to better support them and motivate them. And then a hub. So a hub can be a great way to organize all of your resources. In our school, we have a lot of different hubs. I'm in 10 different buildings, so I see a lot of different ways to organize. And here's just kind of an example. It's in a Google sheet, and you can kind of see here, it has general information, lessons, maybe groups, calendars. I've seen principals use this to help organize their building and all of the information that staff needs to know. So maybe you have different teams in your school and every single team has a folder. That folder is only accessed by that team because of the sharing settings. Maybe you have resources for testing or resources that you need for families. Students are able to quickly click and they're able to review all of that information quickly to find different resources. We've got counseling hubs, we've got building hubs, we've got spec ed hubs. There are so many different hubs out there, but it helps teams organize their information and quickly find information to use at a later date. And then just tidying up. So maybe you are trying to get transitions in a certain time zone. So right here, you can time your students. You'll use a count up timer and students have to try to beat the time, or they have to get 1 minute or less, and they have to do it 3 out of 5 days. So let's say here on Monday, they take 5 minutes to transition from an activity to an activity. But on the next day, they take 4 minutes. On transition 3, they go back up to 5 minutes. Right now, they only have 1 day where they've beaten the time. But on here, they did a really good job and they got 1 minute. And then here we're down to 30 seconds. So I can quickly see that, hey, we got the reward of 3 out of 5 days, and I'm able to reward those students. And it's going to save me instructional time later because we are cutting down those transition times. You can also add some roadblocks in if you wanted to make it a little difficult for your students as well. And then for those of you that are ready to get next school year ready to go, this is a great getting to know you template. So I've added that forced choice survey right here that I want my students to take that first week of school. That way I know what motivates them. There's also this true colors survey that I really like to use. It's a personality test and students are given 4 different colors. Well, they're given 1 color. There's 4 different colors to show our personalities. So yellow is like your students that are paying attention. They are punctual, they are rule followers. Then your green students are your thinkers. They ask a lot of questions. Your blue students are those students that really love to just kind of talk and they're social. They love to make sure everybody in the classroom is okay. And then your orange students are those competitive students. They're charming. They're the ones that can get out of a sticky situation because they know exactly what to say. And once you know these colors, you're able to give feedback to your students a lot better. So I like to use the forced choice survey and that true colors survey to kind of know exactly how to respond to my different students in my classroom. I'm able to build relationships quicker because I know how to give feedback to those different types of personalities. I also know how to group my students. I don't want all of my golds together. They are going to be role followers and they are not going to maybe try new things right away. I want them to be with a orange student. That orange student's going to be able to present that project that the gold maybe worked with them on, and they're going to be able to present it to them because they're very charming when they do public speaking. Where that green student is going to be able to ask a lot of questions. So I use these to group my students as well to know, okay, what colors are going to go well together, because you need every single color to make your lesson go really smoothly. After that, they kind of go through and they learn about their personality. So we talk about our classroom and what it looks like to be all of these different colors and how to respond maybe to some of those students or why we respond the way that we do. And then I have just a couple getting to know you activities where students might pick their color of water bottle, cell phone, notebook, and then they use stickers to decorate their activity. After that, they might create a Canva. And again, they're picking one activity. So they might create a Canva. I like to use Canva in my classroom where students can create different posters or maybe invitations. And so I want them to get used to it. And so some students might create their poster about them, or some students might want to write a story. And then after that, they're going to prove it. So I like my students to prove it with Number Mania. And with Number Mania, it's an edu protocol where students find a number. And with that number, they create an infographic. And so, for example, I typically go to bed at 8 p.m., which I am going to be staying up really late for this party tonight. But you can kind of see all of these different numbers that are about me. And my students can find all of these numbers to do it about themselves. The reason I like this is because later in the year, I can use the same activity with content. I can have my students research different topics that we're going to be covering, and then they can create their own infographic to that information about that content. And it's more like a research paper that we are starting to create. Then I like them to pick jobs for their classroom, and then I give them a bank account for a classroom economy where they can earn money to spend on different things as well. All right, so I want to know, what was your favorite tip from tonight? I know there was so much, and the slides are coming very, very soon for those of you that have been waiting. But feel free to tweet out your favorite party favor. Did you like maybe one more than the other? Or maybe you're going to try something tomorrow. So feel free to tweet. I would love to build connection with you and get to know you a little bit more. But thank you again so much for joining me tonight. I had a blast, and here are the slides. It's the bit.ly. I'm also going to drop it into the chat for you to access. And just a reminder, you might have to join the gold group for some of the activities just because they are a collaborative slide deck, and to just kind of respect some of those creators that were a part of it.
Wow. Stephanie, thank you so much. I know Mike Caulfield's on the call. I want to give him an opportunity to say thank you as well, because he didn't get a chance to introduce. Mike, do you have any parting words for Stephanie?
Well, Stephanie's an absolute rock star. She's negotiating the formula shortage at the end of this meeting, and then she's moving over to the Ukraine to negotiate peace with the Russian forces. So I really appreciate her taking the time to go through this with us. You know, she's an outstanding coach for the teachers at Pickerington, but she also puts herself out there on social media and the web. She's the CEO of Gold EDU, Control the Chaos EDU. She's the Ed Tech lead at Pickerington Local Schools, and she's spoke at conferences around the world. And we're just very lucky to have her. And I was so pleased that she was able to join us tonight. But as she will attest, I had technical difficulties getting on here early tonight. And she's always my go-to when when I have those difficulties, but apparently she's already in the meeting. So Stephanie, thank you very much, and really appreciate the enthusiasm and the positive culture that you were building with these tools. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
So hopefully that hopefully tonight you've been able to take away some of those party favors from Stephanie. We've been giving prizes away. We have one more prize here before we leave, and we're going to be giving that away to someone who's been really involved in the chat throughout the night. But I wanted to leave you with this. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to see Amy Acton in person live. And it, regardless of how you feel from the whole COVID experience, she was a big part, I think, of all of our lives. 3 o'clock every day for months on end. And, I had an emotional response when I met her in person, but it wasn't that I took away. It was her message that she left us with. She really talked about there being a hope, a desire to be better. And she said this quote, "There is always light if only we are brave enough to see it, and only we are brave enough to be it." As middle school educators, you are the light. Our kids depend on you. They know that you are there for them. I know that this has been a challenging year, but I am telling you, better things are ahead. And as you recharge over the summer, I want you to think about being the light for your kids, for yourself, for those around you. And as an organization, we really appreciate you. I hope, again, as I said earlier, you will be able to get back out there and join us for our state conference in November, where speakers like Stephanie and others will be sharing so much more with you and really hoping to give you what you need to be the best middle school teacher to help our students throughout the state. So with that, we have one more giveaway. Josh, who are getting those coveted, and John, you like this, coveted Cleveland Browns preseason tickets?
Wait a minute, let me interrupt Josh. Let me interrupt Josh before we go there, because not only is Stephanie going to be at our fall conference, but Tara Ruckman, who's our behavior intervention specialist, will be there too. And as strong as Stephanie is with the tools that she provided you tonight, Tara is just as strong with behavior strategies for students. So don't miss those two at the OMLA conference this fall. Josh, sorry for the interruption. I'm a Steelers fan, so these are like not big deal for me.
Yeah, I don't mind giving away either as a Bengals fan, but as a fellow AFC North,
Hey now.
I feel
That's
like
supposed to
there's
be an
people,
argument. Come on.
people need